All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into one of the biggest, maybe the biggest, buzzwords in tech, the cloud. We're going to break down the three main service models that power basically everything you do online, from email to huge corporate networks. So let's get right into it.
I mean, we all have, right? You hear people talk about storing stuff in the cloud or cloud computing, but it always feels like this fuzzy, abstract concept. Is it just some giant hard drive floating in the sky? Well, not quite.
See, the trick is to stop thinking of the cloud as a single place and start thinking of it more like a restaurant menu. It's a collection of different services, and the one you choose really depends on what you're trying to do, and more importantly, how much of the work you want to do yourself. To make sense of it all, we're going to use a simple metaphor, the cloud service ladder. At the very top, you've got the most managed, most hands-off service, SaaS. In the middle, you get a nice balance with PaaS. And down at the bottom, you get the most control with IaaS. Let's start our climb at the top. First stop, SaaS. That stands for Software as a Service. And this is the level of the cloud that you are almost certainly using every single day, even if you don't call it that. So with SaaS, what you get is a totally finished, ready-to-use application from a provider. The best way to think about it? It's like ordering a meal at a restaurant. You don't have to worry about buying the ingredients, following a recipe, or doing any of the cooking. You just show up and enjoy the final dish. And honestly, examples are everywhere. The Gmail or Office 365 you use for email, that's sauce. Working on a document with your team in Google Docs, that's sauce. Hopping on a Zoom call for a meeting? Yep, you guessed it, that's sauce too. They're all complete applications delivered to you right over the internet. Now, this table really shows us who's doing the heavy lifting. In the SaaS model, just look at that. The provider manages literally everything: the physical hardware, the servers, the operating system, right up to the software you're using. Your only job is to use it. Simple as that. Okay, so let's move one rung down the ladder to PaaS, or Platform as a Service. Now, this is where things start to get really interesting, especially for people who build and create things, because you're about to get a whole lot more control. So if SaaS was that ready-made meal from the restaurant, PaaS is kind of like one of those meal kits you get delivered. The provider gives you all the essential ingredients and a prepped kitchen. That's the platform, the development tools, the operating system, and you get to do the fun, creative part, cooking up your own application right on top of it. Let's check back in with our table and see what's changed. See that? The shift happens right there at the top. With PaaS, the provider still handles all the back-end stuff, the servers, the operating system. But that application software layer, that's you now. That's your playground. And that brings us all the way down to the bottom of our ladder, IaaS, which stands for Infrastructure as a Service. This is really the bedrock of the cloud, and it gives you the absolute maximum amount of control and flexibility you can get. Sticking with our food analogy, if PaaS was a meal kit, then IaaS is just the raw ingredients. The provider is basically just giving you the fundamental building blocks: access to virtual servers, raw storage space, networking components. It's totally up to you what you build with them. You're renting the kitchen and buying your own groceries. And here it is, the whole shebang, the full picture. Look at that IaaS column. The user, that's you, is now responsible for the application, the development tools, and the operating system. The provider is only handling the absolute core physical infrastructure. You can see the pattern, right? As you go from SaaS to IaaS, the responsibility shifts piece by piece from them to you. Okay, so that's the theory. But how on earth do you choose which one is right for you? Well, it all comes down to the job at hand. Let's run through a couple of quick real-world scenarios to make this crystal clear. All right, scenario 1. We've got a teacher. They need an online tool for their class, and the bell rings this week. Their focus is 100% on teaching, not on being a software developer. So what's the move here? It's a no-brainer: SaaS. Speed and convenience are everything. The teacher can just sign up for a ready-made virtual learning platform and get started today. No coding, no fuss. Okay, next up, a small team at a startup. They're building a brand new mobile app, and their whole game is about moving fast and pushing out updates to users as quickly as possible. This is the absolute perfect use case for PaaS. Why? Because the platform takes care of all the boring, underlying server junk. This frees up the developers to do what they do best: write code, test it, and ship it. It is the sweet spot for rapid development, for sure. And for our last scenario, think about a huge company. They have super specific, complex security and performance rules. they need to be able to tweak every little setting in their digital environment. For this level of control, they have to go with IaaS. It's the only model that gives them that fine-grained power to install their own custom operating systems, build complex network architectures, and manage their infrastructure exactly how they need to.
This brings up a really common misconception. It's so easy to look at that IaaS column and think, well, obviously more control is always better, right?
Yeah, not so fast, because more control is just another way of saying more work. It means more complexity and a lot more technical responsibility on your shoulders. The best model is just the one that's right for the job. So, if you take one thing away from this, it's this trade-off. As you move down the ladder from SaaS to PaaS to IaaS, you gain more and more control, but you also take on more and more responsibility for making it all work. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? In this digital world that demands both incredible ease of use and super powerful custom tools, where is that perfect balance between convenience and control? It's a question that's not just for developers anymore, it's for all of us. Thanks for watching The Explainer.